Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to the GBC SPT page. We're very happy to be with you today during Kartik for this wonderful interview with His Grace Visnu Murti Prabhu. Many of us, I can't imagine a devotee who hasn't benefited from the Vanipedia project. And Visnu Murti Prabhu is the devotee that has spearheaded that since the beginning. And so we're going to talk today with him about the development of that project and what he sees for it in the future as an incredible tool to serve the devotees and bring them closer to Srila Prabhupada and in his most important form in his Vani. So welcome, Visnu Murti Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. So Prabhu, I always like to begin things by asking the perennial sweet question of how did you join? So maybe you could share with us a little something about how you came to the movement, and maybe also how you got into this service of working with Srila Prabhupada's archival Vani.
I joined the movement in 1978. That was after a few years of searching for something that was very valuable and substantial that I could dedicate my life to. I felt I had a mission to achieve. And I joined the devotees in 78. That was in the south of France. Yeah.
That's it. I'm sure there's a whole book there worth of it. We had some discussion a few days ago, so I know there's a whole book there, but I appreciate your wanting to keep things to the more focus on the project itself. So how did you get in? Maybe we'll get a little more out of you if you answer this question of how did you get involved in working on a project like Vanipedia? What was its kind of origin? Because many of us, especially in 2020, it's quite easy to log on to a website and just feel like, oh, this has always been there, and it's quite easy to do. But the reality is that this is decades in the making, and the form that we see in Vanipedia now took so much effort from so many devotees, really spearheaded by yourself. So please share something of that development.
Well, myself, as so many, practically all the devotees have been transformed by Prabhupada's teachings. When I first met Prabhupada in the form of his Bhagavad-gita, that changed my life. All the answers were there. Very quickly, I started chanting 16 rounds. I joined the devotees a month later. And, it was just natural to share it with others. So, I went out on Sankirtan, as was requested of me. And we went out on Sankirtan and we distributed books year after year after year. That was in France. We went to every town and village practically. And that was very enlivening and refreshing and purifying. I studied Prabhupada's books. I read them all twice, thrice. And, we were young, enthusiastic, and tasting something very wonderful, that we were saving the world on behalf of Prabhupada. Prabhupada's books were saving the world and we were his servants. Later, in '84, they asked me to take care of management in New Mayapur in France. I did that under Indraduna Maharaj, the two of us together. So, but in '86, things happened, things kind of exploded. Our movement went into a different, went into a spiral in one sense. It was what seemingly was a great trajectory when Prabhupada left. It kind of fell apart. So I took a sabbatical to reflect on everything. And I was fortunate enough to go to Kartik 87 and study Prabhupada's books in the Association of the Devotees under Burijan. It was the first VIHE actually. So that was very enlivening, very inspiring to be in Vrindavan studying for a month Prabhupada's teachings. Now before that, actually in July of '87, I managed to get hold of a set of Srila Prabhupada's letters that had just been printed. And reading Prabhupada's letters was a very powerful, rejuvenating experience for me. I realized, oh, this is '87, Prabhupada's been gone since '77. Oh, but here's his letters, never been before seen. And we can read them and feel his presence, and not just feel his presence, feel his direct encouragement and his direct instruction. And I'm thinking, this is great for the devotees. The devotees should be able to have this association of Prabhupada. So that set me in motion on a whole journey of actually transferring my first period of my devotional life and distributing Prabhupada's teachings to the non-devotees to try and help distribute them to the devotees. And I met up with the archives in '88, and we started a project to produce all of Prabhupada's conversations, his lectures, a database, produce more tapes of Prabhupada. So in this way, and here we go. Now it's very blissful to distribute Prabhupada's books to the non-devotees. But the bliss is actually coming when somebody is reciprocating. There's more bliss. So if you distribute to 100 people and 10 people say, thank you so much, that's a really nice experience. And out of one of those 10, if they say, this is what I've been waiting for, you can't believe it, it's really God's arrangement, I met you today, and then you have so much more bliss. When you distribute Prabhupada's Vani to the devotees, it's very ecstatic because they're very conscious and they're very aware of what they're receiving. They're very grateful. And so it's a wonderful form of Sankirtan.
What a beautiful connection and meditation that you're saying, just continuing.
Yeah. Now, regarding Vanipedia, just to say how we got to Vanipedia, it was just a natural thing. We had the books. The digital age was coming. We started to get CDs. We got the Vedabase. The Vedabase was digitized, and in this way, it was appearing the digital age, and then webs started developing, and for me there came a point in my life where I just felt we should do something very wonderful for Prabhupada's teachings on the web. And so we pondered, we thought about it, and at a certain time I made a decision, I'm going to do it. And so we've been on that journey.
How wonderful. And if I may, it seems like almost that, and it's a wonderful lesson for devotees in general, everybody has to go through upheavals in their spiritual life. And at that kind of crisis point, you kind of doubled down on your commitment to the movement and to Prabhupada. And for that, we have this very wonderful offering that we all are enjoying now. We're literally the entirety of the movement. And so it's a wonderful example. Without getting too off track, maybe I could just ask you how devotees in general can deal with those kinds of situations in their own life, whatever the crisis may be, some crisis is going to come, how to find that commitment to Krishna consciousness again amidst all of that.
Well, I think we have to reflect on why we joined the Krishna conscious movement. We joined a purificatory process, a process of self-realization, self-development, self-improvement. We can say there's external obstructions that come into our life, but we have so many internal obstructions. We're conditioned souls. We don't have purity. It's not a concomitant quality of ourselves as conditioned souls. We're impure in this embodied state. And we have shelter. We have shelter in the form of the holy name. We have shelter in the form of transcendental knowledge. We have shelter in the form of the association with the devotees. So when challenges come, internally or externally, all we can do is take shelter in those Sat principles, those eternal principles, and just deepen our relationship with them. And it's actually a sweet experience. We can be conditioned by happiness, correct? Yes. So sometimes when we're joyful, we can be intoxicated by it. And yes, if we're suffering, a neophyte can forget God. But we have to be at least to the level of neophyte development that we actually take shelter in God, in Krishna, in Prabhupada, in Krishna consciousness when we're in difficult situations.
Wonderful.
like when my initiating spiritual master left, there was a split second. I said, "Oh, contract finished." He left, I can leave. And then immediately I said, I don't want to leave. You know, so then how do I stay? What do I do now? And Krishna's always, Krishna's always making arrangements.
Yeah, that little opportunity from the material energy. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for humoring me with that question. So now, getting back to what you just said about the joy of distributing Prabhupada's Vani to the devotees, it's reminiscent of that Gita verse at the end, 18th chapter, where Krishna says, "One who gives this knowledge to the devotees is very, very dear to me." And maybe you could just give us some numbers on Vanipedia. It's fun to hear the numbers of how big and how much and where and who. So you have many different languages that this project is serving, lots of different layers to the archive, and certainly thousands visiting the site regularly. So what are some of the numbers hitting on Vanipedia right now?
Well, one number is 5% finished. That's an important number.
That's your modesty, I think.
No, it's not. It's a reality. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there. We want to create the #1 spiritual website on the planet because Srila Prabhupada's teachings merit it and the world needs it. And we're nowhere near there. There's a lot of competition. So, we're grateful that we're alive. We're grateful that we're steady. We're grateful that so many devotees have come forward to participate because it's a wiki. It's a collaborative endeavor. It doesn't get, Jagannath's Rath Yatra cart doesn't get moved without the devotees pulling, right? Exactly. So Prabhupada doesn't manifest in Vanipedia without the devotees offering service. Actually, we have a motto: before enlightenment, copy and paste. After enlightenment, copy and paste. Because, Prabhupada says it all, right? He's already said it all. We're not trying to present ourselves in any way, shape, or form. This is a platform for Prabhupada. So, but the copying and pasting, the compiling. Okay, one number, we have over 2 million quotes, wow, which are placed under 300,000, inside of 300,000 pages, which are placed inside of 40,000 categories. That's just the thematic mapping in Vani quotes. Yeah, we do have 100 languages, which have gone from, just one little presence to quite a substantial presence. Regarding numbers, there's not one single language on the planet that has translated all of Srila Prabhupada's teachings. And I feel that is a milestone which we should get to as soon as possible. Someone should break through it, one language, and then other languages can follow. So we have Spanish and German, which is well on the way. Spanish is up there, in the sense that all the books have been translated, but letters, lectures, conversations. So they're doing pretty well. Now, why should we translate all of Prabhupada's teachings? Why? Well, because Prabhupada is present in every one of his words. He said just one word. Now, yes, he's very meditatively and very profoundly present in his books, but he's not less present in his lectures. He's not less present in his letters and his conversations. He is guru. He is he delivers the science of Krishna consciousness. He was the walking, talking person, Bhagavat, and that's captured in the platform that he lived in, the time that he lived in, the devotees that came to him, that he had to teach and train, and communicate with, the audiences that he had to speak to. And it's such a wonderful, not just a historical reference point for future generations, but just a reality that you feel his presence. I mean, we have 2,500 hours of Srila Prabhupada's audio. We have not 1 minute of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's audio, and what to speak of everybody else's going back. So that is a wealth. See, it's an inheritance. Prabhupada gave us his inheritance, his books, his letters, lectures. It's an inheritance. It's the Vani. He didn't leave us poor. He gave us a movement, and he gave us his Vani. And it's up to us to secure that Vani.
A question from a devil's advocate perspective. Some devotees would say that Srila Prabhupada said too much, that we've never had so much access to the teachings, the speakings, the everyday doings of a saint. And familiarity does breed contempt, especially amongst conditioned souls. So we see there's a tendency to abuse Prabhupada's wealth of Vani and offering also. What would you say to devotees is the healthy way to approach such a corpus of work where sometimes Prabhupada seems to contradict himself in a letter versus a book, or etc., or in a class versus a purport? So how does one approach in a healthy way such an enormous body of the pure devotees' teachings?
Inquire submissively and render service. You know, whether it's a big body of content or a small body of content. You know, first of all, faith is important. You know, without faith, the doubting soul will always find a crack. So, you know, it's faith. The devotee, the disciple, advances based on Shraddha. So, and then with Shraddha, with faith, then, and time, it takes time. Somebody wrote to a devotee, Prabhupada wrote back, he said, don't ask me, Prabhupada. Just go on reading. Just go on studying. The answers will come. So we're a little passionate. We want an immediate answer, or we get immediately affected. You ever felt, you know, reading some devotee's long presentation of what is the truth, and you go, wow, it's so right. I mean, God, it's so, you know, it's spot on. And then, you know, 3 days later, there's a counter argument, and you read everything that another devotee said, and you say, yeah, he's right. So we're not advanced enough to have an absolute understanding on the truth. So we just have to keep associating with the truth. You know, it's not because we're not pure chanters, it's not that we should stop chanting. It's not because we go to the temple and don't have such an intense experience with the deity that we should stop going to the temple. So because we seemingly don't understand Prabhupada's teachings, we should go on studying them. Now, regarding the contradictions or something, or controversies, I would suggest we don't get involved in controversies. Prabhupada taught us not to gossip, not to get into politics. Prabhupada believed, he says, everything you need is in my book. So I would suggest that we spend more time building a sacred repository of Prabhupada's teachings, so that, you know, we can act, you know, now where it's a little bit like sloka warfare. You know, we're shooting from the hip, and we're really looking for that sacred quote, you know, or that quote that justifies what I believe in. And Vanipedia is not like that. Vanipedia is apolitical. We approach from every angle of vision. We don't have a voice. The only voice that we want to manifest is Prabhupada's voice. And we know, yes, at different time, places, and circumstances, there are different things that are said. And it needs a lot of work. You know, the Vani Seva, there's a lot, the master's work is not done. And if we think it is done, this is where the 5% is very real. If we think it is done, then we'll be fooling ourselves, and we'll be hurting ourselves.
Can you, that word voice in this context, Prabhu, might not be familiar for all of our audience because we have an international viewership. So it's kind of a Western literature term, but it's a really wonderful point. So I want to bring that out for the devotees. What do you mean by you don't have a voice in Vanipedia?
Yeah, well, because it's a platform for Srila Prabhupada's teachings. It's not a platform for anyone. You know, you can have a site of all of Prabhupada's teachings, but they're representing some project, you know, and it could be a Ritvik project, it could be a pro this project, anti this project, you know, or it could be just a summary of a few quotes of Prabhupada. So our desire from the very beginning was to give Prabhupada a platform to preach, teach, and train people in Krishna consciousness. If everybody else was getting their platform, we were thinking at least Srila Prabhupada should have have his platform, because he is the founder Acharya, he is the preeminent Shiksha Guru. We are dependent on his instructions, So therefore we copy and paste. We don't give a comment. Even if you look at our attempt to create Vanipedia articles, which are actually a reportage only. It's a reporting. We report what Prabhupada says, and that's born from very serious study, and it's just putting the dots together.
What's an example of a topic you've done an article on?
Animal killing in human society, and Buddha, a Vaishnava perspective. And animal killing in human society, I mean, that's like a PhD study. There's 246 footnotes.
Wow.
You know, it's very, very serious. And, you know, we say if Prabhupada's addressed 7 angles on a subject, we have to compile 7 angles. So with, you know, there's a difference between uninformed discussions and informed discussions. And too frequently devotees fall victim to uninformed discussions. So our service is to try and increase the quality of discussions. Devotees love to discuss. They are meant to discuss. We're philosophers. So Vanipedia is attempting to create a repository, a full repository of Prabhupada's teachings, so that we can increase the informed discussions about his teachings.
So now you keep referencing this 5%. So now maybe tell us something about the 95%. We'll give you that allowance that there's 95% left to do, although the site is already a fantastic resource for all of us.
Well, before we go there, maybe I can just talk about the importance of Vanipedia from my side, how I understand it.
Please, yes.
Okay, so it is not easy to stay alive when you're dead. And for you and me to try and do it, it's a waste of time. We come to this world, and by Krishna's grace, we meet the devotees, and we can perform some devotional service. And after some time, we'll leave our bodies. And we'll be dust to dust, ashes to ashes, and our immediate circle of friends will lament, mourn us, remember us for a while, and, you know, they'll even forget us in their lives, probably, but what to speak of when they die. And, you know, someone will know that you are a grandfather or you are a great-grandfather, but they won't know your name. They'll know your children know your name, they know your grandfather, your grandchildren know your name, your great-grandchildren don't even know your name.
No.
And it's all okay. But for Srila Prabhupada to disappear from the world scene, that's a drama. That's something we don't want to have. And not only do we not want to have it, we want to have Prabhupada manifesting more and more. We don't believe that Prabhupada is present enough in this world. You know, and so it should be increasing the presence of Srila Prabhupada. And it should be increasing generationally. It's not easy to serve in separation. We're asked to serve in separation. We're asked to give our life to the founder Acharya, to his mission. We're asked to accept Srila Prabhupada as the preeminent Shiksha Guru, and we're asked to become spiritual masters, right? But you cannot become a spiritual master unless you become a disciple. So if you have your discipleship and relationship to Srila Prabhupada, you need to become an empowered Shiksha disciple of Prabhupada. You cannot be empowered by Shiksha unless you associate with the Shiksha. So by becoming empowered by the Shiksha, then you naturally become a Shiksha teacher, Shiksha Guru, maybe some will become Diksha Gurus. So then you have a generational success program. Generation after generation after generation of empowered Shiksha disciples of Prabhupada, taking on the role of teaching others, and you know, it just goes on and on. So that's the importance of Srila Prabhupada's Vani. We have an opportunity to build an unparalleled platform due to modern technology. You know, we can't remember it. You know, we forget it. You know, I spend so much time compiling, but then I forget it. But if I just remember something, I can find it.
Find it.
Like that. So what's to do? The compiling, you know, the source material is there. Translating that source material in other languages. Prabhupada said in every language. So that's already one work to do. Like I said, there's no language that has all the teachings done. So to increase the number of languages, which is a whole work, a lot of translating. The compiling, when you deep sea dive into Prabhupada's teachings, you find nuggets, you find little jewels. And those jewels are not so obviously in our personal life or in our movement. So until that is achieved, you have to continue building up that voice, turning up the volume, turning up Prabhupada's voice, realizing that he is present. Krishna's present, we don't realize it. Prabhupada's present, we don't realize it. So compiling, writing, and teaching. To teach. We haven't started that in Vanipedia yet. To teach what Prabhupada taught so that he stays alive and devotees can, take courses and they can interact with devotees. Now you can say, well, that exists in so many cases with so many shastric initiatives that exist. It's true. We're more looking at contemporary issues, like how did Prabhupada preach? How did he preach to the scientists? What did he say about the scientists? How do we teach self-sufficiency based on Prabhupada's teachings? How do we defeat Mayavadis based on Prabhupada's teachings? So not just shastric overall, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, but specialized courses in specific subjects.
That's all sounds very exciting, and maybe now is a good time if you would like to share how somebody could get involved. If any devotees are out there feeling inspired to contribute or serve the project in some way, what are the avenues to do that?
Yeah, well, desire. That's the first thing. We've facilitated the desire of many devotees. We've had over 1,400 devotees who have participated so far.
Wow.
So, we have different projects. Different devotees have different abilities, different capabilities, talents. They have different levels of time, amounts of time they have free. So we, anyone who wants to do service, they can come forward and we can see how to engage them. So we can engage them in translating, we can engage them in writing, we can engage them in compiling. Compiling is very important, and that can bring on the quality of being able to write. If somebody's already a writer, then yes, let's get some more articles in Vanipedia. If somebody likes to research, then let's do your research, get yourself elated and enlightened, but leave a footprint behind, because this is the point. So many of us do. This is collaborative study, right? So many of us do studies and we fill up our hard disks, with files, but and then it's lost. The hard disk crashes. So we want to come together collaboratively to bring it like that. So computer working, anything, fundraising, promoting, recruiting. We have some devotees who are just great recruiters. They go out there, they're on mission to engage devotees, and then some really good devotees come forward.
Wonderful.
So lots of opportunities.
So Prabhu, is there anything else you'd like the community to hear about in relationship to Vanipedia, and especially how, let's, again, maybe a bit of a devil's advocate question. People generally just log on and are looking for that one quote or that one time where Prabhupada said one thing. If you were to teach us how to interact with Vanipedia as you've constructed it, what are the things you'd like devotees to consider in going onto the site and engaging and really seeing this as a way to connect with Srila Prabhupada more deeply?
Have an exploration hat on. Be an explorer. Put on a hard hat and a light and go exploring. Go into the cave. It might look like a cave because I'm in ignorance. So it's actually my cave. I'm in darkness. But then, if I go along and along and along, I get accustomed, and I have the light, which is coming from me, because I'm starting to get a little bit enlightened, and I can see things clearer. And then I can start seeing the formations. So in that way, explore. Don't be shy. Spend time. Prabhupada gave us his teachings as a sadhana. He didn't just give us his teachings to keep on the shelf or to distribute, or to, just keep there, but then I talk so much. He gave us his teachings as a sadhana. Holy names as a sadhana. Incessant chanting. So incessant studying of Prabhupada's teachings. Listening, hearing, practicing to repeat, reflecting. This is what we should be doing. We will not get the presence of Srila Prabhupada in our lives without that. It will not come mechanically. It's like Prabhupada came once to this world uninvited. Now, he's only going to appear again in my heart, in your heart, in our hearts, and in the world by invitation only. So it's lulyam, it's desire. So Vanipedia has this invitation: welcome, stay, hang out, explore, and be happy.
I love that.
And we have, and we have this retention deficit. We can't listen for long. So, we took Prabhupada's lectures that are half an hour long, which has become very long. And now we've put them into 5-minute snippets. We have those 1,080 videos, which is very successful. We just launched Kartik. We just launched a new series of videos called Nectar Drops, and they're only 1 minute long. So there's a lot of compiling. Voice for us is very important. And I'll tell you why the voice is important, Prabhupada. Because when you hear Prabhupada's voice, tell me if I'm wrong, don't you feel his presence?
Absolutely. The vibration itself and I have to say, I'm a big fan of those 5 and 6 minute snippets, because it's allowing me to bring Prabhupada so much closer, so much easier. You feel bad if you don't listen to the whole lecture, but you don't always have time to listen to the whole lecture. But I can find 5 or 6 minutes, so I've made that a part of my own practice.
Yeah. So when we read, we have a tendency to intellectualize. Correct? What's going on? We go like that. That's a tendency we do, to intellectualize. When we hear, we have a tendency more to just listen, to get absorbed. So Prabhupada is present in 2,500 hours. And I say this is a gold mine. If we want to keep Srila Prabhupada relevant in the 22nd century, in the 23rd century, 200, 300 years from now, I have a theory. When we have 50 Bhagavad-gitas in 300 years' time by Srila Prabhupada's followers who felt inspired that they have to, read them. We want people to read Prabhupada's Gita because, it's got to be lined up to the founder Acharya, to the preeminent Shiksha Guru. So how is that going to happen in 300 years' time when so much history has gone by? How are people going to be inspired? I have a theory. They will first hear Prabhupada's voice, they will feel his presence, and they will say, I want to read his books. So Prabhupada didn't, he had a spearhead, distribute my books, distribute my books, distribute my books, distribute my books. It was a strategy to spread Krishna consciousness. It never stopped. I say we should lace the spear with Prabhupada's voice. So we go,
the poison of Prabhupada's voice and the material energy.
Exactly. Boom, boom. Like that.
Beautiful. Prabhu, in terms of anything else you'd like the devotees to be left with in regards to your project, anything unsaid so far, please share with us. It feels like a nice closing point, but anything else that you'd like us to know or feel? I myself was very excited to do this particular interview because I was appreciating that I have no idea who's put together this very wonderful resource. And I'm very happy to meet you. Maybe also kind of a separate question. If there's anybody else on the team who's kind of prominent you'd like to give a shout out to or let us know about their efforts and service. 1,400 people, that's so impressive in itself to be engaging that many devotees in service like this.
Yeah. Well, we have devotees who have come and gone. We have dear Sahadev, who left his body. He was with us for 10 years. He left his body a year and a half ago. So all glories to Sahadev, who gave 10 years of his life to building Vanipedia. All glories to Achyutananda Prabhu, Achyutananda Chaitanya, and Bhakta Ivan, who actually helped me start it with the technical sides, you know, some creativity sides. Ivan decided to choose Wikipedia as our platform, MediaWiki as our platform, which was a wonderful decision.
Yeah, wow. Couldn't even imagine it without that.
Oh yeah, because we're totally unqualified. You see, we don't have the resources, we don't have the quality. We just piggyback on MediaWiki. MediaWiki is phenomenal. #1 information website on the planet, and #1 collaborative platform. They know how to engage people collaboratively, which is our mission. We cannot do it by ourselves. And now today, you know, we have Elad, a genius programmer, who's situated in Israel, and Yada Sampati, who is situated in Holland, and we have Anurag in Mayapur down, who's my right-hand man, who never says no, you know, never say no. That's the secret to get things done. And we just have so many wonderful devotees. I could go on and on and on, you know, and they're doing it as a sacred offering, you know. You know, they just give their time and they do their little services, and little by little by little, by Krishna's grace, basically nothing that we've asked devotees to do in the last 13 years has been wasted. You know, sometimes we do that, you know, we build a wall and then we pull it down. That hasn't happened. Now I will close by saying, you wanted me to say something. I want the devotees to meditate on the analogy that Srila Prabhupada built a whole house, a house in which the whole world can live. I want to ask all the devotees, are they happy to live in a house that has no solid foundation and doesn't have a roof? I think the answer, I can't hear you, but I think the answer is no. We want a foundation and we want a roof. So I say that ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada's body. It is the house. It is the Sangha. And Srila Prabhupada's Vani is the Ashraya, the roof, and the foundation. So let us build for future generations an incredible Ashraya, an incredible foundation, so that the house of ISKCON will never get rocked. The house of Prabhupada's mission will never get rocked. That would be, I think, a nice offering. And I'll tell you, in 7 years and 16 days, numbers, we're going to celebrate the end of the first 50 years of serving Srila Prabhupada in separation.
Wow.
7 years and 16 days. And in 7 years and 17 days, we're going to start the second 50th year, 50 years of serving Srila Prabhupada in separation. I say that Prabhupada's second 50, his mission, his second 50 mission should be better than the first 50.
Jai.
And the first 50, you know, 7 years and 16 days, basically the first generation will be
moved on.
Moved on.
Yes.
And so what do we have to do to Prabhupada's mission? This is strategy. What do we have to do to Prabhupada's mission to maximize the success potency of Prabhupada's mission now that the first generation who picked it up in all their enthusiasm and youth and who were touched by Prabhupada's Vani, Vapu, you know, and his Vani, and they sacrificed their life. You know, how do we maximize the opportunity of second and third and fourth and fifth and 10th generation to be successful? I say the secret is in the Vani.
A likely answer, but also one we appreciate. It's a safe one. Thank you so much, Prabhu. A few devotees are asking if they wanted to get in contact, what's the way to do that? Could you give us an email? I'll post it in the chat.
Yeah. Visnu.murti.vani@gmail.com, and Vishnu is without a H and without an H. Visnu.Murti, M-U-R-T-I, .Vani@gmail.com. That's directly to me. So anyone who's watching today, they can directly come to me.
Haribol. That's access. You don't get that these days so much. Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's been such a pleasure to have you on. And if there's any way that we can support your project in the future, any big news you want to announce or recruitment, you let us know. It's such a wonderful service you're doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Jai Ho. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining us today. I hope everyone is having a blissful beginning to their Kartik. And we'll look forward to seeing you back soon. Please, if you haven't noticed already, there's so many nice events going on through Kartik, many parikramas, many wonderful interviews with devotees like Visnu Murti Prabhu. So we'll be happy to have you back on the channel. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.